Morning. I want to welcome you today to what will be a special assembly, a celebration of a Shady Side alumnus of whom we can all be proud, a man who served as a living example of the Academy's mission, dedicating his life to expansive thought, ethical action, and responsible leadership in service to others. The Robert E. Walker Award is given annually to a distinguished alumnus who sustained commitment to the Academy and its guiding principles, consistent with the vision of Mr. Robert E. Walker, a revered leader of the Shady Side Alumni Office for many decades. Today, I am proud and honored to give this year's Walker Award posthumously to Dr. Leon Haley, Jr., both a member of Shady Side's class of 1982 and the Academy's Board of Visitors. We are very lucky this morning to have members of Dr. Haley's family with us, including his father, Dr. Leon Haley Sr., his mother, Mrs. Ann Haley, his sister, Lisa Haley Huff, his son, Wesley, and his nephew, J.T. Huff, a member of Shady Side's class of 2026. Please join me in welcoming them. It's truly wonderful to have all of you with us today. I'd also like to welcome the members of Shady Side's Board of Trustees who have also joined us this morning. After a decorated career at Shady Side, Dr. Haley went on to earn a bachelor's degree in human biology from Brown University. Inspired by an interest in medicine and a call to serve his community, he then completed his MD from the University of Pittsburgh Medical School. Following residency training at Henry Ford Hospital in Detroit, and after receiving a master's degree in health services administration from the University of Michigan, he was hired at Emory University Grady Hospital in Atlanta, where he ultimately rose to the position of Senior Vice President for Medical Affairs and Chief of Emergency Medical Affairs. In 2017, Dr. Haley moved to Jacksonville, Florida, where he served as Dean of the University of Florida Medical System, and was soon thereafter appointed CEO of Florida Health, the very first African American ever to serve in that capacity. During the early days of the pandemic, Dr. Haley was the state of Florida's most visible public health official, an inspiring advocate for the state's vaccination efforts, and the very first person in the entire city of Jacksonville to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. Soon after Dr. Haley's passing in the summer of 2021, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis presented University of Florida Health with an $80 million check dedicated to the construction of a new Level 1 trauma center in Dr. Haley's honor, the UF Health Jacksonville Leon L. Haley Jr. MD Trauma Center. Dr. Haley was also a proud and loving father to his daughter Nichelle and his sons Grant and Wesley. Last February, his son Grant, then a defensive back for the Los Angeles Rams, dedicated his Super Bowl performance and victory to his father's memory and impact. At the time of his passing, Dr. Haley was a Shady Side Founders Society member, a major contributor to the Gene Deal Fields Project, a loyal reunion attendee, and an overall ambassador for SSA. And almost 3 years ago, I enjoyed hosting Dr. Haley for coffee one winter morning at Eastover, my family's campus home. Over a couple of hours, we discussed our shared love for SSA and the long periods of time we each spent living in the city of Atlanta. He reflected on his experience as Shady Side's first black lifer and the belief he had in our school's future. In the months that followed his visit, our exchanges continued, and I came to rely on Dr. Haley's expertise and guidance as Shady Side navigated the very challenging health and safety situations of the pandemic. At this time, in order to help you understand Dr. Haley's legacy, we would like to share with you this tribute video produced by the University of Florida Health System.
Today, this is a special video and a special tribute to Dr. Leon Haley Jr. Dr. Edwards and I want to take a moment to recognize the importance that Dr. Haley had in all of our lives. You will have participated in some events this past week honoring him in our attempt to share in our continuing grief. I remember where I was when I got the call from Greg Miller. It's one of those lifetime events that I'll never forget. Dr. Haley was a man who was always busy, always on the go, would always answer our emails or texts. I don't know how he did it, but he had that vision to make us a better place, and we actually are a better place, following many of the initiatives that he had started.
How you doing? Great. I'm so glad you're doing this.
And then if you think about the capstone is the $80 million trauma center funded by the state of Florida is really a tribute to Dr. Haley. So each of us will think about him in our own way, and I encourage you to do that.
Thanks, Russ. Yeah, I think, we all have fond memories, and of course, I always remember his smile, because I don't think I ever saw Dr. Haley when he didn't have a smile on his face and he didn't ask how I was doing. And I'm sure that staff all over the hospital have memories such as that, more memories that may not include a smile, but may include a really serious conversation about their family or about his family. And so, such a great loss. But he was recognized, and I think the first several months after his passing, it seemed as though Russ, I, or other members of senior leadership were invited to various functions to remember Dr. Haley and all of the contributions that he made and the relationships that he developed with individuals throughout the city. And so, again, just an incredible man to have worked with and worked for. And Russ and I frequently comment that we don't know how one man did these two jobs. Just an incredible individual, and again, always with a smile. This is something that resonated with me 2 years ago now. During his remarks at a celebration of resident education and scholarship, he shared part of a poem. And many of you have seen the placard that's been made with Dr. Haley's picture, smiling, I might add, with the poem on the back. And I thought it would be very appropriate if we finish the video today and let you think back on Dr. Haley and what he meant to you. So this poem was written by Michael Josephson, and the title of the poem is What Will Matter. How will the value of your days be measured? What will matter is not what you bought, but what you built. Not what you got, but what you gave. What will matter is not your success, but your significance. What will matter is not what you learned, but what you taught. What will matter is every act of integrity, compassion, courage, or sacrifice that enriched, empowered, or encouraged others to emulate your example. What will matter is not your competence, but your character. What will matter is not how many people you knew, but how many will feel a lasting loss when you're gone. What will matter is not your memories, but the memories that live in those who loved you. What will matter is how long you will be remembered, by whom, and for what.
I'm proud of you. Very good. I am too. I'm so proud of you guys. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. All right, thank you guys. Really appreciate it. First step. Thank you.
Living a life that matters doesn't happen by accident. It is not a matter of circumstance, but of choice. Choose to live a life that matters.
The time that he was here, he accomplished so much. We are much greater organization as a result of his efforts. His legacy continues here as we carry out the mission to which he was so committed. Dr. Haley was the consummate professional, physician, leader, father.
And when it was finished, young Rosie was proud, but Fred slapped his knee and he chuckled out loud.
His commitment beyond comparison.
We really want to make sure you're protecting yourself as you move forward.
Said it before on so many occasions, this is the hardest working man I have ever seen. If you ever saw his calendar, you would know what I mean. As I reflect on his life of service, however, I know that he would want us to carry on. I know that Dr. Haley would want us to continue to provide that life-saving care that we do so very, very well. And I want you to know that the leadership team intends to do nothing less. He would want nothing less.
Thank you, Bart. Dr. Griffith, Mr. Griffith, President Griffith. So I met Leon in kindergarten at the Shady Side Junior School. We spent 13 years together as students here at Shady Side, going to birthday parties, sharing several classes together, and many other things on campus I'll share in a moment. So let me tell you about Leon Haley when he was a student at Shady Side in your shoes. Leon loved math and science. In fact, he excelled academically in all matters of math and science subjects. In fact, when we graduated senior year, Leon was awarded the Math and Science Award for being #1 in our class in math and science subjects during his years in the senior school. Leon was a great athlete. He loved football. He was very, very fast. And he was a running back on the football team. He was also a sprinter on the track team for obvious reasons. And he lettered in both varsity football and varsity track during his time here at the senior school. Leon was also very involved in student life. I'd like to remember that there wasn't a club, an organization, or a project that Leon just didn't want to get involved with. His list of activities in the yearbook are like this long. And he was especially interested in student government. And I had the privilege to work with him in student government. In fact, Leon and I were president and vice president of our class our junior year, which we both really enjoyed. I know Leon really enjoyed that experience. And so by any traditional measure, Leon was extremely successful as a student here at Shady Side Academy, as a student, as an athlete, as a leader, and really as an influencer on campus. But as I reflect on my time with Leon as a student, those aren't the things that first came to my mind. Leon was loved on campus, adored by his fellow students, faculty, teammates, coaches, and administration. And the reason for that wasn't those other things. It was who he was. So let me share with you who Leon Haley was as a fellow student here at Shady Side. I'm going to share 3 things. Number 1, he had this incredible positive energy every day. Every time you saw him, he lit up a room. And it started with this smile. He had a smile you'll never forget. And he brought it every day. And he brought it to every meeting. And his positivity, his optimism, his self-confidence, his enthusiasm, his joy, and the impact that it had on us as fellow students is it brought us energy. And that's an incredible gift that someone can give other people. And Leon brought that again every day, every interaction, every meeting, every time he went on the football field or the track. in a track meet. He just brought it. Number 2, kindness. Leon cared deeply for other people. He treated other people the way they wanted to be treated. He had the sixth sense to understand how someone was feeling and how he could make them feel better. And that was important to him. And it was important to us. And number 3, and I think this is the most important thing. He had a philosophy, I think, of how to live his life that I would describe as this: be the best person he can be, so he can help others be the best they can be. I'm going to say that again and ask you to think about it. He wanted to be the best person he could be, so others could be the best they could be. Let me share with you the quote that Leon chose to put in his personal profile in our class yearbook back in 1982. If I help somebody as I pass along, if I cheer somebody with word or song, if I can show somebody he's traveled in the right lane, then my living will not be in vain. Martin Luther King. Leon loved Shady Side. He loved what Shady Side stood for and what everyone at Shady Side, student, faculty, coach, athlete, administrator, strived for. He leaves a legacy that all of us at Shady Side can learn from and strive toward. And so, on behalf of the entire class of 1982, his fellow classmates, his friends, his teammates, I am honored to be able to share that Leon Haley will be the recipient of the Robert E. Walker Award. And I'm personally honored to be able to present that award to Leon's son, who is here today, Wesley. So Wesley, if you could come up.
Good morning. So as they said, my name is Wesley Haley, and I'm honored to be here to represent my family and my late father. So I first want to say thank you to Shady Side and the Alumni Board for honoring my father and his legacy. Ever since he's passed, it seems like every time I turn around, there's another award, accolade, just honoring his life and legacy, and it always brings a touch of sadness, obviously, but a warm feeling to my heart to know that there are people all around the United States and all around the world who are benefiting from that legacy. So thank you for continuing to honor that legacy and for helping further that legacy. So as I started to think about what I wanted to say today, I found myself imagining what my dad would say to you all if he was standing here. My dad, yes, he was a physician, yes, he was an administrator, but he was also an educator, he was a mentor, and he loved speaking to young people. I think that was something that my friends when I was in high school always talked about. It's like, I love talking to your dad, he's such an inspiring guy. So I tried to channel a little bit of him today. And so what I thought I would do is just talk to you guys about opportunity. That's a word that he liked to use and a word that he and I discussed quite a lot. So, like I said, my father had a very successful career as a physician and a hospital administrator, but that career started right here at Shady Side Academy. Like they mentioned, my father played football here and actually suffered a pretty severe knee injury. But that knee injury and his recovery is actually the catalyst that brought him into the medical field and started him on his path to his medical career. It spurred him to attend Brown University for his undergraduate and then to come back to Pittsburgh, to the University of Pittsburgh for medical school. And all of that started right here with an opportunity to discover his path. Opportunity is all around you. Every day is an opportunity to discover, to change, to evolve. And the earlier you take those opportunities, the more likely it will be that you will find that catalyst to the rest of your life. So don't waste them. Don't let opportunity pass you by. Be ready and open to the possibilities that your opportunities can provide. So I grew up in Atlanta, and I was actually fortunate to attend a school much like Shady Side. My father felt that it was important for me to attend a school like Shady Side because he knew how important Shady Side was for his development. Looking back, I will tell you that I have never been more grateful. The opportunity to attend that school like Shady Side is something that I can promise you will be grateful for. Coming into college and going through law school, I was more prepared and more ready for the rigors of higher education than a lot of my classmates who weren't. But you have to, I'd imagine the same could be said for a lot of people who graduate from here. But as I said before, you have to take the most of that opportunity. Put the work in now so that when the harder work comes, you can maximize what you get out of it. There's a lot of learning that comes outside the classroom, so you shouldn't just, that's not to say you shouldn't enjoy your time in high school, but make sure you get the most out of the opportunity you have to attend a school like this. So before I end, I'd like to tell you a story about my father that emphasizes the man that he was and the lessons that he taught me. It was a Sunday morning during the summer after I had graduated high school. My dad woke me up at 7 a.m. 7 a.m. on Sunday was not the time that I like to get up. But 8 a.m. That Sunday morning, I was packed in the back of my dad's car with my mom and my sister, and we were on the road. We drove the hour and a half from Atlanta, Georgia to Rutledge, Georgia, where the main campus of Camp Twin Lakes was. Now, I'm sure none of you have heard of Camp Twin Lakes, but Camp Twin Lakes is a summer camp in Georgia that specializes in providing a safe and fun experience for children with disabilities. So we spent that entire day, probably from about 10 o'clock to about 4 p.m., checking kids in and getting them settled in for camp. And this particular camp was for children with Tourette syndrome. And I'll always remember that day because I could have just laid in bed all day. But instead, I took an opportunity to experience just how powerful and important a day of service could be. Acts of service are acts of love. I encourage you all to take the time to give back to your communities and to communities that just really need help. You never really know how powerful those moments can be until you take the time to give your time. For my dad, time was the most important thing about service. True support, true service came not just from the money that you may put in or you donate, but from the effort and the time that you put in. So I'll end with a quote from my father's favorite poem, Invictus. It goes, "It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul." To me, these lines mean it may not always be the straightest path, and it may not always be the easiest. But if you seize the opportunities that come your way and you trust in yourself to make the most of them, then victory, success, or whatever you're seeking, you will find. Thank you.